14% of Americans say that they are very happy. This is down from 31% in 2018. This was a study conducted by the University of Chicago in early to mid 2020. We are constantly being shown images of happy people and told if we want to be like them, we should do this thing or buy that thing. How often is it that we stop and think for ourselves, what is it that makes me happy? I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on happiness and what it means to be happy. In the past, I have personally struggled with this a lot. We're constantly being bombarded with this idea of like, oh, you need to get this to be happy. Or it feels like more subconsciously than anything. It's been like, oh, first you need to do this, or you need to have this, or you need to achieve this before you can be happy. And then once I'm there, once I have that thing, once I achieve that thing, then I'll be happy. And that for me has been a huge struggle, because it's just like, at what point does that really happen? Because when you get to that point, there's always one more thing. There's always another thing to achieve, to do, to have, to buy. And it's a difficult thing. Now, I do want to mention that being happy 100% of the time is not a healthy thing. And forcing happy thoughts when you are unhappy can also be very unhealthy. Happiness isn't something that you achieve. It's a state of being. What do I mean by that? It's like, you don't become happy once you get to a certain point or once you have something. You are happy. It's a thing that you choose to do. You choose to be happy. That sounds crazy, and that's like the difference between choosing or feeling love. That's a whole other topic, but you choose to be happy right now. And so the idea essentially is, if you can't be happy right now, then how do you know you're going to be happy in the future? Life is filled with ups and downs, and we're not going to be happy all the time. So it's not realistic to pursue 100% of the time. When something bad happens, like the passing of a loved one or the ending of a serious relationship, it's important to take time to grieve. It's also important to realize that depression and anxiety may be natural reactions to events that happen in our lives. You are always focusing on something. Whether you're doing it actively or passively, it's still happening. So say you were to look around the room, and then you look for all the red things that are in the room. Just like count, just do it in your head, like silently, and just like look for everything in the room that's red, okay? And then close your eyes. Think about that for a sec. Now tell me, how many things in the room were actually yellow, right? And you're like, what? That like threw me off, right? You weren't thinking about the yellow things, you were thinking about the red things. But the yellow things were there the entire time. What I'm trying to show in this exercise is that we have all kinds of things happening in our lives, from different events to achievements to relationships. Some of these things may be going very well, and other things may not be going as well. For instance, we could choose to focus on our relationship or whatever it may be. And if that thing is going fairly negatively, then that will be what we're choosing to see. However, there could be other parts of our lives that are going fairly well. The positive things are always there, and the negative things are always there. It's just a matter of choosing what you're going to focus on. I, in the past, have totally chosen to focus on the negative things happening in my life, and it brings me to be a more negative person. It makes me more of like an irritable, like not happy person, right? But what I can do also is choose to focus on the positive things happening in my life, even if there are the negative things happening in my life. If you choose to focus on the positive, then you'll probably be more positive. But if you choose to focus on the negative, then you'll be more negative. There was actually this study by the Harvard. It talked about gratitude and how it affects people's attitudes. To one group, they said, I want you to write a few sentences every week about things that you're grateful for that happened during the week. The next group was asked to write a few sentences about things that negatively impacted them or that made them irritated or a little bit frustrated. And then the last group, which was like a base group, they were asked to just write about things that impacted them.
Now, this study lasted about 10 weeks, and at the end, people were found to be more optimistic and were found to be exercising more. Overall, they had a positive outlook on their life. This was part of a greater study that was done at Berkley, where they researched quite a bit more into gratitude. They found that gratitude leads to deepening bonds with others. It was a coping mechanism for stress and adversity. They also found a link between gratitude and general well-being. If you're interested in reading the article or the actual study, I'll link them down below. Now, you may be thinking, this is great, but how does one implement this into their life? There's this one exercise I do that works for me that takes about 2 minutes, and I'll do it in the morning before I really start my day. Now, other people do it at night or in the middle of the day, and some people just write it in their phones or have a journal. It just depends on what works for you.
I will sit down and write 3 things. First thing is something that I can see that's in front of me. The next thing is a relationship or a person that I'm grateful for in my life. The last thing is an opportunity that I have had, that I currently have, or that I will have in the future.
Now, there are a couple things to keep in mind if you do choose to try this out or implement it into your life. It needs to be something that's consistent and that becomes a habit. You won't find any sort of improvements if you do it just a couple days. There's a book by James Clear by the name of Atomic Habits, and he talks about these different habits and how to create them.
In the end, your happiness is determined by you, and it's something that you choose, right? It's not something that comes into being after something else. It's not something it's caused by an external event. It is an internal thing that happens. You have the capacity to be happy as you are already. Hey, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Really appreciate you doing that. If you think this would help someone else that you know, please share it with them. And if you're interested in hearing about other topics like this, let me know down below exactly which topics. Also, I would challenge you to try this exercise of gratitude and let me know how it goes. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.